Hello and welcome to the second season of Ruffells Ad Break. In this episode, I have a chat with Steve Dimakis, MD of OMD, based in Wellington. We spoke about people pleasing, mental health, and how hard it is when you're chasing money. Also, a massive thanks to our sponsor, Pegasus Bay Wines, producer of some of New Zealand's very best wine.
Ruffells Ad Break.
Who are you? Who are we talking to? Who are we talking to? Let's start at the beginning. Who are you?
Oh man, that's a very we could be here for a long time, possibly. Hopefully not. Look, I think I really am a people pleaser. Like I grew up in an environment that wasn't the shall we say, if you were to look at it now, you wouldn't think it was the safest gang neighborhood. Saw a lot of unsavory things from a very, very young age, but had parents who were also very keen to make sure I was looked after. So saw a lot that was going on and kind of learned from an early age that if I kept everybody happy that was around me, then I would be happy because I could relax because nothing dramatic was going to happen because I'd already done that work. So, and I think that's probably what shaped me to this point.
That's a big lesson early on.
Oh, yeah. But I don't think I realised that was it until probably only in the last 18 months or so when moving into the role I'm at the company I'm at, where the role really is just to make sure that everybody has what they need, they're happy, they're enjoying being there. And a really important lesson I learned only probably in the last decade was that money comes, money goes, money comes, money goes, but the one thing you can't get back is time. So you have to make it really enjoyable so that you can wake up every day wanting to go in and do that thing that you want to do, and you're not I had a great term of phrase that working for a salary is you're addicted to the salary. It's a drug peddled to you so that you won't follow your dreams and you will just do the work that you're being asked to do. And I think that lesson also made me realize that, wow, if I'm going back away from being my own boss and an entrepreneur and going into a large corporate, I can't slip into that, and I need to continue what I've been doing for the last decade and a half, which was just making it fun to be there. And fun doesn't mean it's easy. Actually, easy makes it boring, and boring is not fun at all. Difficult makes it fun. The challenge of trying to find a solution to an intricate problem is probably the thing that I enjoy the most. So in a very typical way, I've come all the way around and talking all sorts of different tangents, but that's who I am is just someone who likes to please the people around me, yourself included.
Holy shit, Steve, that's an opener.
Yeah, there we go. That's the best I can do, I think.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's fantastic. The thing I love about all of these podcasts is everybody has a different answer. Everybody has a different way to get there. Some people have a very linear journey. Some people have really emotional responses and all that kind of stuff. But that's the bit, right? Like it's bringing the people together who you work with, you trust, you can have these open conversations with, so that you can get good shit done.
Yeah,
right.
Oh, totally. And it was really funny when I was coming up as a younger member of the industry. One of the things that I got told that would hold me back from getting into management were vulnerability, authenticity, and a desire to please people. And now in 2023, I go on management courses, they are the top 3 things that they're teaching management. So I'm just like, okay, well, I'm lucky. Yeah, I had my management training very early and amongst some nefarious people. But
So talk to me a little bit about that. So what kind of a kid are you? I mean, you're an only child. You're a child of 17. What? Tell me your story. Tell me what that looked like.
That's an interesting time to ask me about, because I'd only just met my sister that I didn't know I had until I was 15 when I met her for the first time, my half sister.
Okay.
So, but still, that only child syndrome still runs through. But yeah, at that point, everything that I was doing was really about making sure that all of my extended family, who had a very vested interest in me doing well, because I was the first to finish high school, and then the first to go to university and then graduate university in my part of the family. So it was a case of like, just try not to let everyone down. And like I finished high school, I finished 7th form I turned 17 a week before the end of 7th form. So I went to university as a 17-year-old.
Yeah, wow.
First year of uni, and I'm going, oh, well, no, might as well. Nothing. And I guess that's another part to it, was that nothing really, I was lucky nothing really fazed me, because no one really ever told me you couldn't do anything. Mm-hmm. So whatever you want to do, you can do it.
Yeah.
And there'll be a whole lot of people out there who tell you can't. Just don't listen to them.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, and that's, that led me into doing things not that long after the age of 17, of opening a sausage company with no experience in small goods.
Hold on a second.
Okay,
this is the famous skinless sausage, right?
It is indeed.
It's like a kofta, or it's
mitatea. Romanian sausages.
Because for a very long time you used to tell me about the skinless sausage, and I'm going, what are you talking about, Steve? What is this?
Well, because if you know how sausages are made, they are in intestines.
They are.
The casing is an intestine, and it's usually all the things that are left over that you don't want to eat as a cut. You mince it up and you chuck it into the intestine, and then it's a sausage. It's just like haggis to an extent. Yeah. But apparently the story is there was a cafe restaurant in Romania.
There's always an apparently. A story.
Yeah, the story goes, the apocryphal story goes. In Romania, there was a cafe restaurant, and somebody came in wanting sausages, and the chef had none left. Yep. So he just whacked together a few different ingredients that were left around and created these sausages, and they had no skin, and they're held together by the way the recipe is put together. Mm-hmm. But there are things in there that traditionally we didn't include, things like marrow that helped keep everything together. Yep. So there was no filler, there was no breadcrumbs, no sawdust, no cereal, none of the things that were in a traditional sausage to hold it together.
No binding.
No binding. Yeah. But they're also mitatea, I think, loose translations to the wee ones, because they start quite large. But as you cook them, they shrink in size as the moisture, because they're about 70% moisture.
No comment.
Yes, indeed. But yeah, they were, because here we could make them from steak. Yeah. So we would be mincing.
When you say here
in New Zealand,
as opposed to
back in Greece, or in Romania, and I mean, a lot of families that came, because a lot of Greeks came to New Zealand.
Yeah, but we haven't mentioned the Greek part yet.
Yeah, this is very true.
The last name Dimakis is kind of like a giveaway, but
for some, I have been accused of being other things, but yes, no.
And so this was a family recipe. This was
every family that came out here, because there was a big influx of Greeks that came out here in the early 50s, very, very late 40s for some of them. Yep. And a lot of them had been in Romania, because Romania was a very prosperous place at the time. Mm-hmm. But a change of regime there meant that all of the non-Romanian born people were sent back to their home countries. Yep. But then my family ended up in refugee camps back in Greece, because they were kind of between citizenships, so to speak. So then there was a boat, the HMS Goya. It brought people to Canada, to Australia, and to New Zealand, and kind of one half of the family got put on the boat, and the others stayed, and then they ended up here. And so, like so many on that boat, many had recipes.
That's right.
I was just quite lucky that one of the other families that we had been somewhat close to over the time, myself and a member of that family were working together, and he had found a way to come up with that recipe where there was no need for fat, no need for some of the other ingredients, found another way to do it. And so they were like 20% protein, 2% carbs, and 2% fat. So they were the antithesis of what a sausage should be, right. Which also made it hard to get it ranged.
Yeah, I bet it did.
And we kind of had to pull some strings and get one store took 6 packets and then went straight up to their biggest competitor.
Hey, Steve, how old are you when you're doing this?
21.
What is wrong with you?
21,
this is ridiculous. Like, I'm getting a product range, the most difficult product.
Well, this goes back to being told no one telling me you can't do it.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
So tell me about this if you don't mind,
sure.
Because so you're born here.
Yes, born here. Born in Wellington.
So you're the first. I'm the first. Yeah. My family, my dad and his parents, 1948, literally came out on a boat on a steamship. Took them 6 weeks to get here via South Africa. I still have the chest, like literally they had a thing. And this is my kids' dress-up box. All the buckles and stuff are off it. How much of that shapes early childhood and then shapes the need to go and do something with the mitatea?
Well, I think the fact that there isn't really on both sides of my family. One side is Greek, the other side is English, and they came out here a lot earlier, the English side. But when I say a lot earlier, I think my mum may have been 1 or 2 or something when they moved out here. But on both sides of the family, there were always lots of stories of people who had overcome adversity. Mm-hmm. So just jumping on a boat without any money, not knowing anybody, and coming to the other side of the world. And that's what both sides of the family did. And then, you know, it was just get on with things.
Get on with it.
And just life is going to throw you shit.
I was going to say under the bus, but shit is good.
But and it's really about how you respond to it. You never, and this is one of the things I talk a lot to our younger members of staff about, is that good mental health is not about being happy all the time, because you just can't, because that means that you need to cut out some life experiences that are going to bring absolute joy later on in life, once you realize what that taught you, what you went through, how you grew. And it's more about how you respond to the adversity rather than trying to stop the adversity being around you. And I think that coming from a family that just epitomized that they were just like, well, we'll just get on and do things, really helped then for me going right, well, I was working in advertising at the time. I was also working as a bouncer 3 nights a week. And then a mate who was, after my parents had passed away, he was coming around to the house, just make sure I was okay, and he would bring his metatea, and other people would be coming around, and so I'd cook it up, you know, to be hospitable, people visiting, make sure I'm okay. And everyone's going, these are amazing. Well, where did you get them? Oh, my mate, he makes them. Do you want some? Give me the cost of the ingredients and he'll make them. And then I found I was spending more time delivering people's orders of sausages than doing my day job. So I said, right, well, let's just give it a go and do it properly. So we rented a kitchen and got some machinery, and I tried to stay on doing as much work as I could across both the other job. But I think at one point I was doing something stupid like 103 hours a week. So it was
something like 103. 103 and change.
Yeah, exactly. That was not good for my health.
It's not good for anyone.
No, not good for anyone. I ballooned out to like 138 kgs because I was only eating when I was stopping to get petrol. So I literally just
pies.
And drive through. Because I would go from Wellington to Waikanae to do a delivery before starting work at 8:30 back in Wellington. So I would just be on the road, and lack of sleep and a few near misses on some very stupid behaviour woke me up, and then decided, right, need to just try and invest into this one thing. Didn't quite go as well as we would have liked, but learned a heck of a lot of lessons. And then that just spurred me on to do other projects when people came to me with needing a solution to a problem.
But you're already doing sales and promo, right? You know, you're not only have you identified you've got a product which can go somewhere, you're also doing sales and promo. You're doing packaging. You're doing a whole bunch of stuff.
Brand design.
Without necessarily even knowing, did you know what those things were at the time, or was it just stuff that needed doing?
It was just stuff that needed doing. And that's I guess another thing is that when you find something you're passionate about, I guess this is true for a lot of sports people, is you don't need motivation to do it. It's just discipline. It's not that you want to get it done; it just has to get done. So, but that's been great because I didn't know anything about branding. I worked in media for a few years at that point, and I knew what brand meant at a very high level, because until you're into brand, you don't really know what it is. So it was just a case of like, well, if other people can do it, then I can do it. And was thankful to be alive in an age where there is a democratization of knowledge, and I can learn to do anything online if I feel enthused about it, and I have the discipline to do it.
It's a big one.
So that's the thing I still do to this day. I spend 2 hours every single morning learning something, and I'm into physics and astrophysics and quantum physics at the moment. And
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
A bit of him and a bit of a few others, and I'm just like, well, this is fun, like seeing how things can all be connected together. But this is also a thing of having ADHD, which I didn't get diagnosed with until this year. But this has been something.
Hey, who who didn't get diagnosed
exactly.
with until,
I think we're all socially engineered to have ADHD now.
Yeah, right.
Because we have created a world where we can switch and change and move and only and be consuming things as they bring us enjoyment, or exactly, that dopamine spike. Totally. So, but that then has lessons for things like music. It has lessons for things like brand.
Yeah.
But even now, you're seeing musicians who have the same flow or cadence if they're a rapper, or the same melody going through an entire song doesn't do well. But you've got a lot of artists out there who are switching and changing through a song and almost making it like a medley or a mashup. And those are the people who are going, because our brains have become shorter and shorter.
Our brains have become a TikTok remix.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
That's what's happened.
And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not necessarily a good thing, but it is a thing.
It's definitely a thing to not acknowledge it's
exactly.
dumb.
Yeah.
Hey, so what's the worst job you ever had? What did you learn from it?
The worst job I phrase it, nothing against the people who I work for.
You don't even have to name them.
No, I used to work in unaddressed mail at New Zealand Post, a division of New Zealand Post called the Letterbox Channel.
Yeah.
And I have never had a job where you are so far removed from the people who are doing the job, because you've got posties was one channel, but then you had the supervised urban network, which was basically kids who could go to 1,000 houses or one dumpster. Then you've got people calling you up going, hey, I've just found 3,000 of my flyers.
Or in a rotten out hollow of a tree in the park.
Exactly, yeah. And so that was what made it the job I probably liked the least. It was just all day, every day, getting people calling up and complaining. And it didn't matter what you could do, and this is part of what I've learned about exactly. Couldn't find a solution. Yeah. But this is the same thing now, where like and being self-aware is a good thing, and I like to think I'm somewhat self-aware, but I also know that I can't be someone to be vented to.
Yeah, true.
Because I need to find a solution. Yeah. Otherwise, the cortisol goes off in my brain, and I'm stressed and I'm frustrated. So, I often say to friends of mine who just want to vent, I go, here's a picture. Here's a photo of me. You can vent to that. I'm not a great friend like that, but if you need a solution to that problem, by all means, I'm right here. You call me anytime.
But knowing where you stand, that's self-awareness,
exactly,
right?
Yeah.
Then that's good, because, actually not everybody needs somebody to vent to.
No.
In that instance, actually calling yourself out and saying, this is not good I'm not going to be good for you.
Yeah.
If you do this to me.
Totally.
So that's all right.
And sometimes I like to vent, and I can be a hypocrite. And being a hypocrite is okay.
It's okay. Yeah. We're all hypocrites.
Totally.
We're all hypocrites, depending on how tired we are.
Yeah.
I was bitching the other day for absolutely no good reason. I was like, why am I bitching? Why am I bitching to these people?
Yeah.
Why would these people want to listen to me bitching? And it's because I was tired.
Yeah.
I was cranky. I didn't like the way my 12-year-old spoke to me in the morning. Whatever it is.
Exactly. But this is another good life lesson that I've learned as well. And I wish I could credit the people who have taught me these lessons, because I'm sure I don't want to feel like these are my own lessons. But nobody who has ever said anything or done anything to you has hurt you. Mm. It's all been your own interpretation.
How you've interpreted it.
Yeah. But that also comes down to, it's not you, because that would make you, very masochistic, or I can't remember the right terminology, or sadistic, I don't know, either or. But it's actually your conditioning. Yeah. So how you were conditioned means that you assign certain values or emotional feelings to specific words or actions that you internalize as causing you pain.
Based on your learned experience.
Exactly.
And, environment. And,
totally. So, but that's a really hard thing to keep in mind when you've had no sleep and a 12-year-old is giving you a hard time.
And you've been spiked.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Almost impossible. Steve, tell me, what was the first piece of work? Let's move a little bit more towards into marketing and all that kind of stuff, because we kind of can see maybe how you got there. What's the first piece of work you put into the world? Do you remember?
One that the first piece that I got sole control over. Yeah. I was working at a media agency called Total Media, and one of the first new sets of apartments went up for sale. It was called the Montreux Apartments, and it was the first time I was let loose on planning a campaign, and boy was it different. So
boy, was it different.
Well, I decided that
but different's good.
Yeah, exactly.
Or can be.
Can be. Well, because I mean, there was always going to be the traditional kind of real estate media that went along with it, but.
Yep.
I was like, these are high end. These are, we haven't seen anything in Wellington that I had known about at that time in a long time coming through. So I suggested doing art house cinema and flyer drops, Undressed Mail. Very, very glossy, well-produced, high-end looking ones. Yeah. They were unaddressed, but you would feel like you had been picked. Mm-hmm. And this is where my first experience of data came in, and understanding that there is data always being collected about you and everybody else, and that data is available for people to use. And so being able to use that data to profile the households that the flyer went into, the cinemas that we went into, the films that we picked to have that against, all were informed by the information we had about people's ability to purchase one of those apartments. And I think after 10 days, they'd sold out. And I'm not saying that was due to the campaign.
You solely attribute that to your work.
It was 100% the cinema placements and the Unaddressed Mail, two of the smallest reaching media channels out there. Yeah. No, but that's probably the first thing I remember and going, oh, wow, after 10 days, you've sold a couple of hundred apartments. And we now need to turn the campaign off after only 10 days. We're supposed to run for, I think, 12 weeks or something.
So we've made you all your money, and now we're about to save you some more by cancelling the campaign.
Yeah, I don't think my boss was very happy about that, because then the media spend didn't happen. We didn't get our cut on things. So, but a repeat customer, because they were very happy. Yeah, so that is the.
And does that only work once? I mean, once you've unlocked a little nugget like that, does that work once, or then do you have to change the algorithm?
Well, I think for me, it was always about finding that little nugget, but how you got to find that nugget needed to change, because there's only so many insights big data can give you. Small data can give you a lot more. And later on in life, I was very thankful to come across the work of Martin Lindstrom, who actually has a book called Small Data, in amongst brand sense and biology. This is not an advert for him, but very good books.
Whatever works.
Exactly. Hey, Martin, if you're listening, I'm a big fan. But actually finding those nuggets of information can come from just spending time with people. So that was another kind of conscious decision of taking time to talk to people, to find out where they come from, what their backgrounds are like, what their life was like, could then give you insights into how to position messages for other people that looked and sounded like them.
100%. Hey, tell me, what is it that you want to get out of the type of work that you do? We're in December 2023 when we're recording this. Everyone feels like it's been yet another strange year. What's normal anymore?
Yeah, exactly.
So what is it that you want to get out of the work you do?
Well, I want very fortuitous timing that this came out. I've just been working away in the background on a little bit of a project that's all about positive energy, and I really want to use the vast network of people that I now have access to, being at OMD, which is an Omnicom agency. So there's thousands of us across the world, and I think we're at a time where we've seen that negativity brings attention, which has helped sell things, but it's also been hyperpolarizing, and there's been this forced narrative coming through all sorts of media, but through our phones, through our TV sets, that does create division, and quite possibly not intentionally. But what I want to get out of it is actually starting to use all of the amazing tools and insights we have to actually start bringing people together and creating more positivity. And I know I'm not alone in that. There's lots of people all over the world who are on that same sort of wavelength, and very keen from 2024 to start actively helping to achieve that, rather than purely just be continuing on the sale of products or bringing out a government message. It's more about how can we help more people who are looking to create content that has positive, unifying, uplifting messages in all sorts of shapes and forms. How can we help bring as much of that into the zeitgeist as possible?
Yeah, I think the corner's been turned on that. Everybody's talking about it, and in my bubble, of course, I'm skewed towards that because that's sort of where I sit as well. But definitely, and actually on this podcast, almost season 2 in particular, which I thank you for being on, by the way. There is the common thread is that people are at a point where they want to use their position of influence to maybe not do work with purpose, because that's a buzzword which is overused, but to certainly do more than just continue with the status quo and start to not necessarily disrupt, but to look at different options and to push.
Totally. I'd love to help reframe from people being in the money game to people being in the happiness game.
They don't have to be mutually exclusive.
No, they do not at all. And actually, again, one of the big life lessons for me is that the more I chased money, the harder it was to get. And the more I chased happiness and bringing happiness to people around me, the more money people gave me. Because it's just a byproduct of doing the work. It's not the reason to do the work, because then you are just an addict. And I'd rather be addicted to happiness and joy than money, because it's not
bring on the skinless sausage.
Exactly, We didn't do it for the money, because we didn't do it for the money.
I bet they were happy days, though, in the kitchen when people were coming over and saying, this is amazing. And,
I had all manner of people that came over and helped us at some point in time, and we had to teach them about food hygiene and health and safety. And, these are people who had never worked in a factory either, and we were just, going on this massive adventure together. And there was never going to be a win at the end. There never is a win at the end. Even in sports, where I've spent a lot of my time in coaching and playing football, the win is not the most joyous part of it. The win is just when the full stop, but it was the journey. It's like it's the adventure that you go on to get to that point.
When a particular mechanism works, and you've been working towards, you've been practicing, you've been rehearsing, and now it works.
But it's always that hunt that is the more enjoyable and more exciting part than the end. Because at the end, there's also that thing of, well now it's done. Now what? Now what? Next adventure.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, that's great. Hey, tell me a war story. Tell me where it went horribly wrong, Steve.
I've got way too many to
don't have to name a shit. But it's more about the learning from that, right? So we're not all perfect. We've all had ups and downs. We've all had wins and losses and all that kind of stuff. But there's some which hurt more than others or sting. And like you said right at the beginning, it's like what you do with that. It's not about that moment. That moment sucks. And probably for you or your client or for the boss or whomever it is. Do you have one?
Yeah, I've got a few different war stories from over the years, but again, I think because of that mentality, I don't have any major scars from it. But I think the biggest thing is I think the thing I felt probably the most is when you've been working with someone for a long time and then you're no longer working with them and you still see the work going on and you that can make you feel because you don't die when you get put in the ground. You die when you stop feeling valuable, right? That you die inside when you stop feeling valuable. And so it's like a relationship coming to an end. That's probably the most harrowing part of it, because you no longer feel that valuable and useful to that person. And when you're invested in the person, not the company they're working for, that's probably the thing that hurts the most. But that's where, again, trying not to take it to heart and not beat myself up about that and move forward and go, right, cool, well, I know that relationships don't last forever because all relationships come to an end at some point in time. So
it's easier said than done, though, especially when you're a people person.
Big time. Big time.
Yeah, it can be really tough.
It takes a lot of self-reflection and taking that time to actually be with your thoughts and acknowledge when you're feeling really fucked off and shitty about things. But then being able to work through why you feel that way. And more often than not, it comes back to me going, I'm just internalizing something that's got nothing to do with me. I am a speck in this thing, and I just need to put my big boy pants on and step out that front door and carry on.
Next adventure.
Yeah, totally.
Great. Hey,
I feel like I've given you a very philosophical start to this rather than a really marketing advertising thing.
It doesn't matter, but I think it's all part of the same picture, right? Because how many marketers, advertising execs, whomever, do you know who? I think actually, at the core of it, one of the big things is that none of us who are in marketing, advertising, we never got into it because we wanted to do a 9 to 5. We never got into it because we wanted to manufacture car parts. We never got into it for that. We wanted different, we wanted challenging, we wanted to know that every day was going to present us with an opportunity to be involved in changing something one way or another, right? So that is philosophy, if nothing else, right? Because you have to, there's process, there's planning, there's structure, there's strategy, all that kind of stuff, right? And there's measuring at the other end, which a lot of people don't talk about. But if you don't do the measuring, maybe don't do the stuff at the front.
Totally.
But that is philosophy, right?
Well, and I think you have to be very philosophical in this industry because at the very core of it, we are manipulating people's behaviors. You have to take that very, very seriously. This is a privileged position to be in because I know that probably over a third of every choice I've made, whether it's a product I've bought or a way I feel and think about the world, has been influenced by people who have gone before me in this industry because they have shaped the messages that I have consumed. And that, it's a very good Spider-Man thing of, with great power comes great responsibility.
That's right.
And I think that in an industry as well where if you now there are qualifications you can go for on my side of the aisle in the media and data and all that sort of stuff, but none of them mean anything. Like somebody comes in with a comms or marketing degree, people who come in with a psychology degree, a behavioral economics degree, you're good, you're ready to go. Political science, understanding the way the world works with corporate and public entities who influence each other.
We're the interface.
Exactly, and we sit right between them. So I think it is, you do get very philosophical because you need to be philosophical about being such a behavioral manipulator. But I just hope that it is more entertaining than talking about how to do it, how we do our advertising.
Well, absolutely. But let's talk really. We sort of started to talk about how Spot's not getting the same traction. So, and you're saying on one hand, I was sort of saying, have we reached saturation? Do we have enough? And you're saying, no, we need more. Kind of, right?
Yeah,
but it's not that we need more. It's just it needs to be doing something. It's not content for the sake of content.
No.
So talk me through where do you reckon we are?
Well, I think we're one of the things that we in this industry have been good at paying attention to in the past is the humanity that lives at the center of everything we do. And so when you have a change in what humanity wants, and they don't want to be hyper-targeted, and they don't want to be followed, they don't want everything they do in this life to be available for some prick like me to be able to buy off some other person making a killing out of their data to then use to get them to buy more stuff. We've moved into this world, yet we're also trying to find ways to get around that. Like, how can we use clean rooms to match people's data in a privacy first way? I was like, guys, just move on. Move into actually, we need to get more content out there because we can't take this one piece of content and get it in front of just those types of people. Or we actually have different makeups within our audience, and we have different tribes of people within our audience. Shout out to Seth Godin. That if we were for them, if your brand, your company was for them, and those people know you're for them, then there's a value exchange. And so that means if you've got quite a wide overall audience with many tribes in there, you need to create different forms of content for each of those tribes. And then within that, there'll be people who receive it differently based on their age. Because, a couple of old fellas like, middle-aged, shall we say, fellas like you and I, we suffer from neuroplasticity.
Yeah, sure.
We have got some pathways.
Yep.
And if you want to get a new thought or a new way of thinking into our heads, it might be best to put it over like a 90s or an 80s music track, because we like listening to those music tracks, and so the message can sink in.
Well, the flip side of that is that because you and I are sort of starting to, call some of the shots there, it suits us better, and that's why all the Gen Zs think that the 80s and 90s music is really cool again.
This is very true, yeah. You nefarious bastard. You.
Come on, it's TikTok.
Exactly. But I think that's the way forward for me, I think, is going to be really going backwards. Like we're in a similar sort of space as we were in the 40s and 50s, as we were just moving into television, and people like Procter & Gamble created a Procter & Gamble entertainment division and created soap operas, and Colgate-Palmolive jumped in on that, and other major corporations started creating content. And it wasn't for product placement within the content, but it was to be for the people they were trying to sell to, give them something to entertain. And then, they would drop in a word from the sponsor every now and again. And then we sort of morphed that and went into some product placement and integration and lots of different ways to try and manipulate the situation. But I think if we go back to what has worked in the past, we can probably learn how to go forward in the future, much in the same way an AI system works. Because it can't predict the future. It's literally just taking lessons from the past and applying them to a changing environment. And we too can do that ourselves. So why not learn from the AI in a roundabout way? Deathly silence.
Steve, I mean, it all makes sense. I get it. I'm not frightened by that. You know, actually, I've been saying for a while now. It feels like at the end of 2023, it feels like businesses, or the businesses who are doing well, or not even growing, but just they're really rock steady. They're growing in visibility, but they're not sort of aggressively trying to push the trajectory in a way that's unsustainable. It feels like that's from like 10 years ago, I don't know, for me anyway, pre-earthquake. The things were pretty good. After the GFC, the things had leveled out. People were a little bit stung by that, and so they were a bit more considered. It feels like kind of ramped up again over the last 10 years, proliferation of multiple channels and content formats shifting from a 16:9 to a 9:16 to a 4:5 to a 1:1 to a whatever. And people don't want that level of information or dissemination because they don't want to think about that, but we know it works, so we've pushed for it, right? So that sort of interchange is changing as well, and clients are now saying we want it to go here and here. That's where we're getting our runs on the board. That's where we're getting our gains from. They don't talk necessarily about future demand, but they're talking about this here, right? And so I feel like we've kind of gone backwards to say, hey, calm down. Calm down, let's take stock. And so potentially, like you're saying, I mean, this is all just a hypothesis, that we're going to see a lot more of that traditional execution just on new channels.
Totally. I don't think anything has really changed in the game. I think we have new platforms that carry the same methodology, but I think the big change coming up now is reverting back to a methodology that also worked in a time of volatility and change in terms of how people are consuming content. But then the other part to that makes it a lot easier this time around is rather actually paying attention to the algorithms and what the algorithms are based on, because they are based on human behavior. It's not some nefarious, well, I like to think it's not a nefarious kind of manipulative approach with the algorithms behind some of the major players. A lot of it is going, right, well, we see users who are consuming content in a way that is maybe a portrait for teasing and getting into it, like a little clip of it in a reel or a story or a short, then brings me into wanting to be ready for the live on YouTube. And then if I miss the live, then there's a premiere. And so that behavior has then led to the algorithms going, right, well, if you've got content, what you should do is put it here, 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 and here. Sometimes there is a lot of benefit in not trying to go against the algorithm and go with it. And that's where we try and talk to clients about algorithm management and actually paying attention to what's going on, because it's it's an aggregation of human behavior, because there's no benefit in creating an algorithm that goes against what humans want. And I say that with one massive caveat, is that because humans have multiple biases and heuristics, we have these things that we hang on to. What tends to happen is the algorithm has to have confirmation bias in it. So you will likely only be served content that you previously have demonstrated you hold the same belief as.
Yeah.
So if and maybe not even just interest, the belief. Mm-hmm. So if you look at something that's hyperpolarizing and it has a right and a left to it in the extreme, you won't get served the opposite side's content at all. So you may not ever in your bubble have two sides of an argument. In your mind, it may look like there is only one side to the argument. So that is where, again, people like us have to help and go, right, well, so to play in with that algorithm, we might need to create a piece of content that looks and feels and smells and tastes like it's from that side, but it's not, because it's going to help us bring that dissenting viewpoint in to at least allow a conversation to take place. And that's true whether you're trying to sell some, quick service restaurant goods, or whether you want to change the way people behave in around their health. There will be those things to play into. So I can't even remember what the bloody question was, to be honest with you. But
don't know.
But I think we have to create content. We have to put that content out into the world. We have to pay attention to how humans want to consume that content, and a good analogum for that is the algorithm. I think that's what I was saying.
On that note, Steve, thank you very much.
No problem.
That's it.
Really? Okay.
That's really it.
Fantastic.
That's amazing.
Very happy to have been here.
Holy shit. Fuck, Steve. Thanks for listening, Pod Peeps. For more info on how we work or what we can bring to your business or project, get in touch at ruffles.co.nz. See you on the next one.